Paris never slept. At least, not the Paris of war. The streets seemed calm under the dim glow of the streetlights, but I knew the city was boiling in its alleys and narrow passages. The resistance moved in the shadows, whispering secrets, plotting against us. And that night, I was certain that Elise Dubois was one of those shadows. After hearing about the interrogations, I saw the fleeting fear in her eyes. It lasted only a moment, but it was enough for me. She knew something. Or someone. I should have reported her right then and there. I should have told my superiors that the defiant-eyed waitress was hiding something. But I didn't. Instead, I found myself following her. In the shadows of Paris. She left the café shortly after nightfall, her posture stiff, as if trying to appear casual. But her steps told a different story, urgency. She stayed on the main streets for a while, glancing back a few times. If she was wary, it was because she had done this before. Then, turning into a narrow alley, she vanished. I quickened my pace. The alley was dark, the stone buildings seemed to close in around me. The distant sound of a radio echoed through the cold air. And then I saw it. Elise was speaking with a man. A young man with disheveled hair and tattered clothes. I saw his face in the flickering light of a lantern, Louis Lefebvre. A known agitator, one of the men we were hunting. I should have turned away, gone back to the barracks, and informed my superiors. But I didn't. I stayed there. Just listening. Elise's choice. They know, Elise whispered, her voice heavy with urgency. The interrogations start tomorrow. You need to warn the others. Louis looked at her, his face tense. How do you know this? She hesitated. I heard it at the café. Louis didn't seem convinced. Or did you hear it from the mouth of a German? For a moment, I saw something in her face. Something I shouldn't have recognized, but which hit me like a punch. Doubt. And worse, guilt. She thought of me. Of my presence. Of our conversation. That meant, in some way, she already saw me as a real danger. She was already thinking about me. Louis grabbed her arm. Elise, if they suspect you, it won't take long before they come knocking at your door. You need to get out of here. But Elise simply shook her head. I can't. Louis narrowed his eyes. Is this because of that German? My body tensed. Elise stepped back, her face turning into a mask of coldness. Do you hear yourself? She shot back. I would never betray the cause. Louis was silent for a moment. Then he sighed. Then be careful. You're already too close to them. She stared at him for another moment before disappearing into the darkness. And I stood there, caught in something I should never have allowed myself to feel. Something that would make me lose everything. The game begins. The next morning, when I returned to the café, Elise was already there, serving customers as if nothing had happened. But her eyes were different. She knew she was being watched. She knew she was in danger. I walked up to the counter and placed a few coins on the wooden surface. She came to serve me, keeping her expression neutral. Coffee, sir? There was something in the way she said sir. A slight challenge. I smiled faintly. Yes. But also an answer. She frowned, confused. I leaned slightly over the counter, my voice low enough for only her to hear. Who was that man you met last night? I saw her breath catch. Her hand holding the tray tensed for an instant. But to my surprise, she didn't recoil. She simply lifted her gaze to mine and whispered, Why does that matter to you? I could have told her the truth. I could have said that she was just another name on a list of potential prisoners. But what came out of my mouth was, Because I want to know who you really are, Mademoiselle Dubois. And at that moment, the game began. To be continued. In the next episode, Elise tries to determine whether Johann is a real threat or an unexpected ally. Meanwhile, Johann is put to the test as his superiors begin to suspect his behavior.